Should have, would have, could have, but they sure didn't. The Astros had a 3-0 lead. They left a lot of men on base. They had some holes. And then this man fraud rule showed up, the ghost runner. We're going to talk about a frustrating loss on a game that the Astros should have won on this edition of Locked On Astros.
Buenos días, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talkstros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros. Your team every day, even when the Astros win. We're here for you. So thank you for making us your first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go ahead and check out the Locked On Astros podcast and go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. Make us part of your everyday life. Just go ahead and listen to us on your way to work, on your way home from work. Whatever you're doing, go ahead and check us out. And today's episode is brought to you by the petition for Jose Abreu to start hitting. So, Brett, are you going to sign this petition?
No, he just has to get out of this funk himself. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. You can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me at Astros411 on Facebook. You can find me at Back to the Bullpen on Instagram as well. So, hey, look, this is one of those games, Eric, that you definitely should have had. You walked into Kansas City. You know, they have some good young talent. Bobby Witt Jr., Melendez. They've got some good hitters. Salvi still is a solid bat, solid backstop back there. You know, a stalwart veteran. Reagan's on the mound, came over and has pitched excellent. Gave up a lot of hits early, and it really looked like maybe the Astros were going to make this 5, 6, 7 runs in the first 2 or 3 innings and put the game out of reach. And after they got those 3 runs, it was just like the scoring stopped, and a couple defensive miscues, Eric. And you can't win ball games leaving men on base. You can't win ball games making errors. I think the umpire had a pretty crappy strike zone, but there were a lot of other things that could have gone the Astros' way that didn't, and they didn't do what they did last game. They didn't capitalize when they got runners on base. You've got guys in the lineup that are still hitting. I mean, heck, Jordan Alvarez 4 for 5 tonight, Kyle Tucker 2 for 5, Pena 2 for 5. You know, all these guys contributing, but not enough to get more than 3 runs across. You should, with 14 hits, you should have at least 10 runs. I mean, I remember my dad telling us growing up, a hit means a run. And if you have 10 hits, you should have 10 runs every time. I mean, that was his philosophy. And it was all about making the most of the guys on the base pass. And tonight, you can call it the Royals pitching. You can call it bad luck. I think bad luck, Eric, is the theme, because there were a lot of hard hit, screaming line drives that were hit right at Royals players. And sometimes the baseball just finds the glove and not the field.
Yeah, Bregman is struggling at the moment. He popped up with the bases loaded with no outs. He also had a strikeout with runners on the corners with 1 out. He also had a big error that allowed a run to score. And also, I know it wasn't really technically an error or anything like that, but he overran a foul ball. And so on third base side, and so that if he would have caught that, that would have possibly ended the inning, but instead that inning was extended. So there's some issues with Bregman. He did get a hit later in the game, but it's like, oh, why can't you get that hit when you need it? And we know clutch Bregman. We know when Bregman is really on, he's going to get those clutch hits. So I'm not too worried about Alex Bregman. He always gets to these slow starts. We know that he's in a contract season, and you know that he's going to want to get those, the Benjamins, whatever you want to call it. But he's got to turn it up. And the Astros, you can't just point it at Alex Bregman. You can't just point it at Jose Abreu. In today's game, we do need to talk about a pinch hitting situation that burned 2 players. I mean, John Singleton came in to face, I forgot the guy's name, but I looked up the stats, and he limited left-hand hitters. Granted, against this pitcher, batted 263 with a 819 OPS. Against right-handers, he's a much better pitcher. So this was a definitely analytical move, but at the same time, Mauricio Dubon, he had a great double earlier in the game. This is a guy that had a great spring training, and this is a guy that you really wish you didn't take out. And you had to burn two players. You had to burn Singleton and then Jake Myers down the road.
So Schreiber is the guy's name, and Schreiber comes in and look, I'm just gonna look. I'm gonna say this knowing that I know my place and knowing that I'm not a GM. I'm not an analytical baseball guy. I don't get paid six figures by the Astros to analyze situations, but I understand the analytical move, Eric, that you mentioned. But at some point, John Singleton, at some point, Jose Abreu, at some point, these guys that are hitting as bad as they're hitting, John Singleton, 143. He's not in the game all the time. I am not giving Singleton an at-bat in place of Mauricio Dubon ever. No offense to John Singleton, but the proof is in the pudding. Not at what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me ever? Outside of his very first game, and I've been very lenient. I've been very fair. I've been very positive with John Singleton. But I'm tired of the analytics. Look, left-handed hitters may have a 425 average against a hitter, but you have left-handed hitters, and then you have John Singleton. Those are two different people. John Singleton misses just about every ball in the strike zone. I love the story. He's a good guy. This isn't a personal attack on John Singleton, but he has no business replacing Mauricio Dubon in this situation. I think this is when analytics overtake what we would call a gut feeling. There's no way you have a gut feeling that Singleton's going to get that hit. Now, if Singleton gets that hit, and let's say he hits a home run, good. A blind squirrel gets a nut every once in a while. Sun shines on a dog's butt at least twice a day. And so it's going to happen eventually. 143 means 14% of the time he gets a hit. But why are we taking the 14% chance in a game that the Astros really should win? And again, I love them, but I just think it's time for somebody else to step up in his place. I think it's time. I didn't like this move, Eric. I'm glad you said something first because it kind of helped me breathe before I had this take. I just okay, I'm done. I just
yeah.
To
go off of that, Brett, real quick. In that situation, to lead off an inning, why bring Singleton in? I know what the numbers say. You bring in Singleton, he makes great contact. He may not get a hit, but he gets the ball in the air. Let's say you have runners at second and third, and you have one out. Singleton would be a great person to get a sacrifice fly because he does make great contact. In this situation, with no outs, nobody on base, I just didn't get that situation. And so Singleton has been used a lot as a pinch hitter this year, doesn't have much success. And so I know Joey Loperfido is just biding his time, trying to learn how not to strike out as much, and he's hitting some home runs down there. So I know that they know the numbers that we don't know. They see more than Baseball Reference does, Baseball Savant does. The Astros have more numbers than we do. But at the same time.
But he has a slugging percentage in the last 7 games of 143.
Right.
You say he makes contact. Eric, this guy misses balls in the strike zone all the time.
Right.
It's not every once in a while. He's a light version of Chris Carter. At least I know Chris Carter is going to get a home run every 30-something at bats. He's not even doing that. And I think it's time to move away from John Singleton.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather Gray Kessinger be in that position. Actually, I would rather Mauricio Dubon, like you said, get the opportunity to hit the ball. Now,
Right.
had they not made some defensive miscues, the Astros may win this game 3-1, 3-2. But you didn't have that. You didn't have them scoring runs. So why put in someone who is an almost guaranteed out? That to me makes no sense. You already have the major hole in the offensive lineup, which is Jose Abreu. Really thought that we were getting a different Jose Abreu. We were led to believe that his injury was behind him, that he's not a declining player. And so, so now we've got a couple massive holes, and poor Jake Myers got thrown in there at the end, cold off the bench. He hadn't played in 2 games. That was an unfair at bat for him to be, but he's got to come through regardless.
Yeah, sometimes being a manager is kind of like making decisions on prize picks. Sometimes you make good ones, sometimes you make bad ones, but that's part of the fun.
Yeah, that's right. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports game. You can go with the strikeouts like we've been talking about, RBIs or first inning runs. You can pick more, pick less, and you can add them to your Prize Picks entry today. Get in on the playoff action for the NBA and win up to 100 times your money. The NBA playoffs kick off April 20th. The play-in round is literally right around the corner, 16th, 17th, and 19th of April. Prize Picks is the best way to get in the action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, yours truly in Texas, and Georgia. You want to play alongside some Prize Pick favorites like Meek Mill or Sugar Shane O'Malley? Well, you can do that in the community plays. Prize Picks even offers injury insurance so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For baseball games, if you have a player who registers 2 plate appearances or less, Prize Picks will have your back and not count that as a loss. When I'm testing my skills on Prize Picks, this baseball season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $100. You can also enjoy the #1 fantasy sports app by simply downloading the Prize Picks app today using the promo code Locked On MLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's a first deposit match of up to $100 using the code Locked On MLB. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. Check out Locked On Sports Today. It's your first ever 24/7 streaming platform out there, and you can go ahead and watch it now on your Amazon Fire TV stick. Just go ahead and check the free Fire Stick TV channel app, and you can go ahead and see that, and you can also watch the Locked On Astros podcast. And if you want to listen to all the games, including tomorrow's game where Spencer Arrighetti will be making his major league debut, you can listen to it on SiriusXM. So go ahead, first pitch will be at 6:40 tomorrow, just like today on SiriusXM or all on your local stations as well. So let's go ahead and before we move totally away from this game, Brett,
Yeah.
I didn't know that to win an extra inning game, all you have to do is just hit the ball to the outfield and have the guy score. I mean, it just seems so easy, right? I mean, the ghost runner is at second base. All you have to do is just hit it to the freaking outfield. And then that play that Bobby Witt Jr. made to rob, who was it? Jeremy Pena.
That right there. Look, that was probably the play of the game. That was the web gem of the game. That ball gets to the outfield. The Astros take the lead there. It changes it. Right. And then, if the Royals come back and tie it, they tie it. You're still going to extras. But I've got a bone to pick with the name of this rule. It's not a ghost runner. It's an actual person. If y'all remember, harken back to the days of your childhood, young men and young women, when you played baseball, when you played stickball, when you played wiffle ball, when you played baseball in the cul-de-sac, and if you hit the tennis ball on top of your friend's roof that had a loft, it was a home run. If you hit it on the loft to the right of you, it was foul ball and it was an automatic out, okay? You had a ghost runner. Well, you know what the ghost runner meant? Nobody was on base. And the thing I loved about the ghost runner is you always thought your ghost runner was faster than the other players. but the other team thought that their position player was faster than your ghost runner. So there were always these great arguments, and there was this great like almost like a war of like, no, he got to home first. No, he didn't. Like, you're slow, dude. You're slow as molasses. And it's not a freaking ghost runner. It's called a free baseman. That's what they need to call him. Almost sounds like a Freemason. That's weird. It's maybe the Illuminati's involved in this. I think it's a terrible rule. I absolutely hate it, even when it benefits us. I think it's dumb. I think it's awarding the team something they did not earn, period, in this story. I get it, trying to shorten the game. And maybe if the Astros win, I'm singing a little different tune, but I hate the name Ghost Runner because it's not a ghost runner, dude. Remember back in the days, it's just not. I mean, if it's a ghost runner, then let's see Smokey O'Day out there on second base. Let's see some old dude, Shoeless Joe Jackson on second base, right? Anyways, it's a sucky way to lose, dude. That is like, but both teams had a ton of opportunities to score, and both teams didn't capitalize. It was whoever made the most mistakes or whoever just got that one extra hit. And gosh dang it, if the Royals didn't get that extra hit.
Yeah, the Astros were 5 for 18 runners in scoring position. They scored 3 runs, meaning the Astros had 2 times where they got a hit with runners in scoring position and they didn't score, including the Jeremy Pena ball. So, there's a little bit of bad luck in today's game. I know that it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but the Astros are now 4-8. The Astros lost 5-1. Maybe if they would have had that, but you put, unfortunately, you put a pitcher who was not making his major league debut, but his first appearance with the Astros, Wander Suero. This is his first time with the Astros.
Yeah,
so
that's
you put him in an uncomfortable position.
Yeah, that was a tough position to put him in. And when he gave it up, I'm like, why do we have that guy in? And I thought, wait, well,
he's up here for one day.
I know. Well, but like I said, so let's look at this. Let's compare 14 hits for the Astros. Look, the Astros only give up 7 hits to the Royals. It wasn't like the Royals beat the brakes off of us. 5 for 18 with 13 left on base. The Royals 3 for 11, 10 left on base. So really, this game, Eric, could have been a lot more out of hand for both sides. But hey, a positive: Oakland beat the Rangers, but now the Oakland's 4-7, we're 4-8. So does that mean Oakland's in front of us? I'm just glad they beat the Rangers. Oakland won't stay in front of us. I'm not worried about that. But I would love to see the Rangers get knocked to like 500 by the Oakland A's by the time they are done with them, because now the Rangers are 6-5. The mighty Rangers, the defending World Series champions, are suddenly slipping, Eric. So I love to see that. I've got to find something positive to talk about tonight.
Yes, something else that is positive is Yordan Alvarez is 9 for 20 with 4 extra base hits against left-handed pitching this season. So let's see Scott Service bring in Robbie Ray. I know Robbie Ray's not on the team anymore. I don't think so, but I don't think you're going to see them bring in left-handed. I mean, they're probably still going to do it because why? Analytics says that the left-handed pitcher neutralizes the left-handed hitter, but in this case, it's the opposite. And the same thing with Tucker.
So Eric, I have an interesting stat that I saw Space City post, and I wanted to share this. There are only 6 players in Major League history that have 2,000 plus hits, 200 plus home runs, and 200 stolen bases in their career with the same team. 3 of them are Astros. Do you know who the 3 Astros are?
No. Oh, Biggio, Altuve, and Bagwell?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Bagwell had 200 stolen bases with the Astros.
Right.
And the other 3 on that list, Jeter, Yunt, and George Brett. That's a pretty cool thing. 3 of the 6 are all from the Houston Astros. And Eric, we may be witnessing, Altuve was off to a pretty hot start. He had hit in his first 9 games. He was trying to, I think the record for hitting in opening a season is like 16 games. It might have been Richard Hidalgo. I'm not sure, but I think he has a 16-game hitting streak to start a season one year. But Jose Altuve, Eric, is really becoming not only one of the best second basemen in Astros history, but I think he's just one of the best second basemen, period, in all of baseball. And so we do have Yordan Alvarez, who is hot as a firecracker right now, like you mentioned. Diaz is, average has ticked down a little bit, but he's still hitting over 300. Kyle Tucker, man, had some unlucky hits tonight. He had some absolute lasers. That single that Yordan got, the first one, it's like 112 or 114 off the bat, something like that. There's no, those infielders just step towards it. I'm not going to get that. I mean, he's just blistering the ball, and his defense. Yordan Alvarez is trying to win a Gold Glove, Eric. I love it. I love Yordan Alvarez. I love the big fella in left field.
Yeah, the way so a lot of people run to the ball, he kind of glides to the ball, and it's so smooth.
He's
and
like,
he's not like ooh, 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 ooh. He's more like. So it just looks. He just looks like a natural out there. There was a couple times, especially with some of those deep drives, I was like, this looks a little scary, but you have the right parts for what you need in outfield, and that's what you get with eBay Motors as well.
That's right. eBay Motors is the sponsor that we're talking about. Why? Because passion, drive, and patience is the formula for winning championships. We know that here in Houston. It also is what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. That's key, because cash is king, right? With all the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive with ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available for U.S. customers.
Hey guys, go and check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. It's great. It's 24/7 streaming platform out there, and it's now on your Amazon Fire TV stick. You can just look it up. Just search baseball. You can find Locked On Astros there, and go and check out Sirius XM. You can watch. You can listen to tomorrow's game. Can't watch on Sirius XM, but you can listen to all the play-by-play if you're on the road, or if you can't get the local broadcast, you can go and listen to it on Sirius XM. Tomorrow's first pitch with Spencer Arrighetti. I know you already did a podcast talking about it,
right,
but we got to talk about this. This is a big mood.
Before we get to Arrighetti, I do want to make sure that we give credit to the relief pitchers, because the relief pitchers look good tonight. The last few games, Eric, they've looked good. Montero, 2/3 of an inning. Abreu, 1 inning. Presley, 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. Hader came in, a clean inning. Outside of Suero, everybody else did their job. So the bullpen is looking better. Javier, even though he gave up 3 walks, he had 4 Ks. He did give up the 3 runs, 2 of those earned. The pitching wasn't the issue tonight.
Right.
It was the hitting. And if we can get the pitching and the hitting to match, and so that leads us into Arrighetti. Arrighetti comes in, Eric, and this kid is the top pitching prospect for the Houston Astros.
I think he's number 3 or 4 overall in terms of Astros.
Yeah. And, Joe Espada basically said, we've gone through our pitching here in the last week, and we want to make sure we protect some of these guys. Having Arrighetti will allow us to push everyone back a day and protect some of our young starters, and that we're going to need for a long season. This is, I think, a good thing for Hunter Brown. Remember, Hunter Brown's coming off a very brutal start.
Right.
And an extra day cannot hurt, especially knowing that last year fatigue was the reason his mechanics fell off. And he even realized to this year, I didn't realize that was the case. Spencer Arrighetti, got to interview him. I'm going to throw up a little 5-minute interview, not tonight, not here, but tomorrow I'm going to throw it up on the YouTube channel for everybody to see when I interviewed him at TriStar. You'll be impressed with this kid's makeup. And that interview is spring training. So all his conversation is going into spring training. So just point of reference there.
Yeah, definitely. So this is good for the rotation. I know that a lot of people are asking about Josh Hader, why did you not bring him out for the 11th inning? And Joe Espada answered that. He said it wasn't even consideration. We have to make sure we are smart about the length of our season. We have to be smart here and be careful at how much we ask of these guys. And at the very start of the season, I think he used Josh Hader 4 out of first 5 or 6 games. Yeah. It was something crazy like that. And Hader wasn't that effective after that. So I think that Espada, as he goes, he's going to learn some things. I mean, he knows stuff. And so I think he's going to learn from some making not mistakes, but just learning from as he goes. And I'm not, a lot of people are saying he needs to go because the Astros are 4-8. The Astros are 4-8 because of bullpen underperformance. A couple of hitters are lacking right now, not because of stuff that Joe Espada has done. So you've got to give him a little bit more of a leash. Okay, right now you are trying to give him the little, the little kids' backpacks, that little hat that have the little lion, that have the little leash attached to them. That's the type of backpack you're trying to give Joe Espada. You got to give him a little bit more.
Yeah, this is a freaking marathon. I mean, this is the NFL. He's not 4-8 and an NFL veteran coach and took over a team that's leading their division. Look, I don't even want to entertain that because that to me just screams a fan who doesn't know what the heck they're talking about. But Wednesday's game, Eric, will be the 6th in the stretch of 13 consecutive games for the Astros. And so that right there is really another reason why you bring Arrighetti up. You're confident enough in his stuff. You're telling him early on, hey, we believe in you. And Arrighetti may not be up here very long, but he'll get a taste. He'll get to see what it's like.
Right.
And they'll know, hey, how did you feel? What did you like about it? What did you like about your pitch selection? What did you like about who you worked with behind the plate? So on and so forth. Because, Verlander's got one more start. He's going to start against the Isotopes, and then he will be home with the Astros when they return, and the plan is for him to start. But Codify on X put the Astros pitchers that are on the IL, and someone's like, wow, that's a full 5-man starting rotation right there. I mean, it's insane, the injuries. But yes, y'all go and watch that little emergency podcast I did. It's right at about 20 minutes long, talking about Spencer Arrighetti. This kid, Eric, has got the stuff. And when I talked to him, I was very impressed with his stuff. I was very impressed with just his makeup. The kid is from Katy. He's a local guy. He grew up a Houston Astros fan. I mean, that's super cool. But he makes his debut in Kansas City. Pretty sure his family's going to be up there in Kansas City watching him. Boy, with the 2.16 ERA so far in his first 2 starts. Remember, he was pitcher of the year in 2023, threw 124 and 2/3 innings pitched. So he threw quite a few innings last year with a 4.40 ERA between Corpus and Sugarland. So there's not as much concern, I think, with him having a lot of innings put on him this year because he did have 124 plus last year.
Yeah. So I do want to kind of give Christian Javier some credit. He didn't have his best stuff tonight. He did, but then he didn't. He started off the game pretty good, 4 scoreless innings. Then he gave up the 3 runs in the 5th inning. It looked like the defense kind of fell apart in that inning as well. But it also snapped his scoreless streak to start the season. And so we're seeing a much better Christian Javier. His ERA on the season is 1.10, and he's looking pretty good. And he's not really striking out people left and right, but he's pitching to contact, and he looked really good in the first couple of innings. Then just things kind of fell apart for him. Rafael Montero came in and settled things down. Montero looks like a different cat this year. So I don't know if he's going to maintain this, but for right now, he's got a better ERA than Abreu, Presley, and Hader.
He does. I'll give him that. And someone was asking earlier about Fromber. Basically, he has an inflamed elbow. Basically, his elbow is swelling. That is typical of a symptom of some sort of strain, but they're not telling us more than that, and we don't know how long his IL stint is. They haven't, as far as I'm concerned, Eric, haven't said how long that IL stint is to this point, but they did They did make a couple moves on the roster before we go. They placed Valdez on the IL. Wander Suero was called up. Parker Mashinsky was recalled from Sugarland, and Blair Henley was optioned to Sugarland. And Parker was brought up because of the IL stint. And so that's why that's how you got those moves. So they've got a left-hander in the bullpen, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, they're still thinking that it's not a long stint on IL. They're saying that he's not going to throw for at least 1 to 2 days, and then they're going to reevaluate him, see how he's doing. Once the inflammation goes down, we can get him throwing again. Then we can assess how quickly we can get him back up and built up again. So with somebody like Framber Valdez, who is the ace, we can go a little longer if you want to, Brett. So with somebody like Framber Valdez, you don't want to rush him back. So they're definitely, and it's definitely with everything that's been going on with all Spencer Strider. I know a lot of people complain about the Houston Astros, but did you see what I forgot what I think the reporter's name is Bowman or something, but he reported that the Braves said that they have not said that Strider will need Tommy John surgery, but they will wait a few days to see if he had the surgery yet to announce it. So basically, they're going to wait to see if he had the surgery before they're going to tell fans if he's out for the next year and a half.
Yeah. So look, it is an epidemic, and if you guys haven't checked out the press conference, you need to go watch the Justin Verlander press conference. I was able to be a part of, and Ari Alexander asked a great question, and Justin Verlander talks about these injuries, talks about how it's a multifaceted thing, how they need to turn back the clock. But I reached out to a current major league pitcher, Eric, for another team, and I just asked him, like, whenever, because the reason why I bring this up, a lot of people are saying it's because Diaz is not good. It's because Diaz isn't a veteran catcher. We need a veteran catcher. He's not good, blah, blah, blah. Well, I asked this major league pitcher, and I said, hey, let me ask you this. In a situation where, a pitcher's getting knocked around, or where, things don't go well, in baseball terms, when you as a baseball player talk about it, okay, who is the person that's to blame? And I'm not saying you go to the clubhouse and point your finger at them, but baseball thinking wise, this is major league pitcher thinking, where does the blame lie? And this is what he said. He said, it's all situational, and no pitch can be really blamed on the catcher because they do their homework and make educated decisions based on info and what they see. And if a pitcher wants something else, they shake them off. When things go off the rails, it's likely not the pitch calling or the decision to throw it issue. It's usually the execution. I mean, sometimes you throw a dumb pitch and you put that less often by a lot, and then it comes down to poor execution. So he's not saying that it's never the catcher's fault. But this is a major league pitcher, folks, and you can argue with him as long as you want to. But I'm going to take the major league pitcher's word for it, and this is what he's saying, that it comes down to execution on the pitcher. So is it a veteran catcher thing or rookie catcher thing? I think if Diaz had a lot more time behind the plate last year, this isn't even a topic of discussion. But Diaz has had to handle some difficult pitches. The only throws he's made down to second base, Eric, if you notice, they've been on pitches that are down in the dirt or down and away, gets crossed up, and a guy's stealing. The guys are stealing. They're becoming smarter base runners. They've got bigger bases, so now they're watching for that catcher to be crossed up. They're watching for that ball to go into the dirt. He hasn't been given many opportunities, but last year, what was all the rage? His pop time, throwing runners out. He's the new guy. He's leading. You and I interviewed him. Y'all go watch that interview. You tell me if you don't think this kid's confident enough. Yainer Diaz will be fine.
Yeah, Blanco, he stole that base. That was not even close. That wasn't Diaz's fault. He's super fast. So sometimes it's just a runner, and it's not that.
In the bigger bases, Eric, you and I have heard veterans, say it. I mean, I've even heard Craig Biggio say it. Gosh, I wish I had bigger bases. Right. I mean, can you imagine how many bases Ricky Henderson and Vince Coleman would have stolen? Probably like 8,000 in 1 year. I mean, it's insane. But at the end of the day, the Houston Astros have a lot more good than bad. There are holes. Baseball's a mystery. And just when you think you got things heading the right direction, watch out, kids. It'll break your heart.
All right. So on the next podcast, we're going to talk about Spencer Arrighetti. How did he fare in his major league debut? Did the Astros beat the Royals? And there's a lot of talk about the Astros are making a mistake with having Yordan Alvarez batting second. So is this true or not? We'll kind of go deep into this. We'll have a little talk about this. So, Brett, do you have anything else?
No, I just think, hey, I think we need to have all eyes on the TV. We need to be sending good vibes to Kansas City for Arrighetti. I know the nerves are going to be kicking. I've talked to Mike Stanton about that before. What is it like making your first appearance? And let me tell you, I'm glad it's in Kansas City and not in the roaring crowds of New York or LA. A little bit calmer crowd, but still, Spencer, good luck on the mound. Go out there and pitch your heart out, kid. And hey, bats, wake up and don't leave guys on base. Let's score more runs than the Royals.
Really? Oh, should we all cook spaghetti tomorrow for Arrighetti?
Right. Dude, let's do it. We're going to have a spaghetti cook-off. Yeah, let's do it. Spaghetti Arrighetti, baby.
Alrighty. On that note, that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. Make sure you go check us out. Make sure you go to subscribe to us on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check us out. And we'll be back tomorrow after tomorrow's game. And hopefully we'll be talking about Spencer Arrighetti and not Brett trying to distract me. Go Stros.
Yeah, fireworks. Where did that come from?
Your butt.